If you're like me, when I first started surf fishing, I grossly overthought the gear I would bring to the beach. I would spend sometimes hours in the garage the night before a trip prepping for that upcoming session. After running hundreds of surf fishing trips over the years and documenting countless hours on the sand, I've narrowed down my gear to a nice simple package. Today I'm going to show you exactly what I take every trip that doesn't leave me overcrowded, neat and organized, and gets the job done on the sand. This video did come as a request, and that's what we try to do here with this podcast, is feed off the comment section. I have done videos like this in the past, but looking back at them, things have changed. And when I say things have changed, I'm definitely not bringing as much gear. Trip after trip, season after season, year after year, you really start tuning this style of fishing in. And it no longer looks like I have the whole garage on my beach cart out there anymore. Let's go ahead and knock out the main gear, right? The very obvious stuff. Rods, sand spikes, and beach cart. For me, a beach cart is a must-have. Now, we are doing this professionally and we clock a lot of hours on the beach. So even our style of beach cart, you might not necessarily need. The beach cart that we're pushing is a luxury item. It is definitely not a need. With any kind of more expensive items, I'm always going to let you guys know that. The more expensive sand spikes, the rods, the beach cart upgrades, none of these things are necessarily needed to catch fish. The performance is going to be better, it's going to be more comfortable, but it's not a necessity. We run a 4-wheeled beach cart, custom made. This is a Fishing Mate Senior frame, and I've added a Deerfield fabrication and welding lift kit and push handle to this. Deerfield also does our sand spike holders on the side. The wheels and axles are coming from Benjamin Beach Wheels, and our sand spikes are a variety of Deerfield and hooked aluminum. Our little bait basket cutting board, that came with my original Fishing Mate Senior cart, and I'm still using that original one to today, 4 years later. That's the cart. Now, I know plenty of guys that don't even use a cart, and this really depends on beach access. There are certain towns and cities along the coastline that the beach accesses are few and far and in between. Or they're just so crowded all the time it's hard to even get a vehicle in there. So these hardcore beach fishermen, right, they adjust. Instead of using the big carts, they use backpacks and buckets. They're carrying a lot of gear instead of pushing it, and they have figured out what works for them on their beach. Just storage that is needed for a big beach cart like this can be a situation all on its own, like what kind of vehicle are you driving? Are you living in a small 1-bedroom apartment with no garage? Or do you have space to put something like this that is out of the way? For me, like, my entire garage is built for surf fishing. It's our livelihood. Just like if you were an auto mechanic, your garage would probably be set up for working on cars. Rods, beach carts, sand spikes, all that goes right in the garage. I have a dedicated space for all that stuff, but it's not necessarily like out of the way. I need all that stuff very accessible because it's coming in and out of the garage on a daily basis. When I bought this truck, the first thing I did was, is my beach cart going to fit in the back of this? I know plenty of guys that do the hitch thing, or they do like the roof rack. Now, I will assume that these guys aren't everyday beach fishermen. These are weekend warriors or guys living off the coast that travel down however many times a year to go surf fishing. I have built out the bed of my truck for surf fishing, again, because it's what I do daily. That is definitely not needed. Now, if you're local to a beach town and you're fishing often, then yeah, more than likely you have a truck that you've built out the bed to accommodate your rods and your beach cart and your sand spikes and your sand flea rake and everything else bulky that does go with surf fishing. So rods and reels, beach cart, sand spikes, sand flea rake obviously are going with me every trip. So let's start with lure casting. One rod, some sort of backpack, hitting the beach, stick and move style of fishing, usually done early mornings. I am bringing very little with me for these trips, guys. Depending on the day, I'm either gonna take a little sling pack like this, super small that I can get one tackle box in, and then just some tools, some scissors, some extra leader, things like that. And honestly, guys, most mornings I use this big pocket to put a bottle of water in. I don't even take a full tackle box. I'll pick out what lures I want to use for that morning and grab a few. I'll have one tied on, obviously, then I'll have a couple backup lures in this small pocket. The leader size I'm using for that day, and a little pair of scissors. Then I'll have my pliers on my belt. That is it, guys. It doesn't get much more than that for me going out there with one rod slinging lures. This is extra, but it's a great tip, is a small little sand spike. This is a little 2-footer I had Brian from Deerfield make me. and he's welded a little nipple on there where I can clip. So I'll take this guy and clip it to either my sling pack or my backpack. I use it for a camera mount most times, but it's very handy to have a little sand spike with you for this style of fishing. For when you do hook into a fish, you have a place to put your rod to get that guy off the hook, or even changing lures and leader. Trying to keep that reel out of the sand and unhook a bluefish can get tricky at times. A little PVC pipe works. You can make one of these at the house. Just something that you can get your rod in that's secure, and you can either work on your line, unhook fish, things of that nature. If I plan on keeping fish, if I'm after like Spanish or bluefish or jigging for pompano, and I am in the mood to keep them, then I use like a backpack style cooler. Any of these work, guys. I use this dry pocket Aeroo one. It's your classic duffel style backpack cooler. Just one large open compartment right down the middle. I found that these work best. The ones with all the different pockets and compartments, like those are nice, but what I've found is because I have all that, I tend to take more. And then I can't find my braid scissors for a month because I've shoved them down in one of those pockets like while I was out there on the beach and forgot about them. I'll keep some sort of ice pack in here, not like a bag of ice or just loose ice, like an actual frozen pack. Throw a couple of those down in here, and I can even just throw my tackle box on top of that. I use these sealed tackle boxes so water doesn't get in them, and you can just throw this guy right down there on top of the ice bags. Then I do have a smaller pocket again for like my scissors and leader. You're gonna get more room here. You have the option to keep fish with this, but it is bulkier. So I would say just ask yourself that question before leaving the house in the morning. Do I plan on keeping fish? If the answer is no, that little sling pack works great. If the answer is yes, get you some sort of backpack cooler. Let's get into set rig fishing. So we have our rods and our reels, our spikes, our cart, and our rake. What am I putting inside that cart? I developed a 2-bucket system years ago, and I have stuck with it. It has worked well for me. Everything's in one place. I always know where everything's at, and it serves multiple purposes. So I'll take 2 buckets with me. One is filled with my tackle, and one I use for thawing out bait and bleeding out fish. So right when I get on the beach, I start setting up. I'll go get a little water in this guy. If my shrimp or my mullet or whatever I'm using is still frozen, I can throw it in that water. It'll thaw it out quicker. And then as I'm catching fish, pompano, whiting, whatever we're keeping or those clients of ours want to keep, then I can bleed them on the spot, throw them in the water, which will preserve the meat, and then get them on ice. Get that bloody water out of here, put some fresh water in, and start the process over. And then in my actual like tackle bucket, I have my rig bag. My rig bag holds everything that I'm fishing with. This is a great one. I've had this guy for about a year now. It's still holding strong. I got this from Cast King. I think I found it on Amazon for like 30 bucks. And inside my rig bag, I obviously have my rigs. I don't overstock this guy. I keep an eye on it. If I start running low on single drop glow floats, then I'll tie 2 or 3 up and stick them back in here. I keep some thicker leaders in here just in case we're getting into like big schools of Spanish or blues and they're biting through all of our like fluorocarbon or mono. I'll keep a few steel leaders in here just in case, but I rarely use those. I keep a little backup of lures, and then I've got 5 empty compartments, right? That's all I'm taking, guys. Just because the pockets are there does not mean you need to fill them up. I got some backup lures, some backup rigs, some just in case leader. I keep a little Dr. Juice in there in case the bite gets really tough. I have found dabbing my floats or like even my bait with this Dr. Juice can turn them on, attract fish to that bait. So I keep a little bottle of that in there too. Some backup float hooks, and I do keep an extra tape measure, a small little compact one, just in case I get into a fish that is bigger than the ruler that's on my beach card. If it's dwarfing my beach card, I want to know the size of that thing. You know what I mean? So I'll pull out my tape measures so I can get that like 40-inch measurement. And that's it, guys. Just because you have all these extra pockets does not mean you have to use them. I mean, I still have 5 or 6 pockets that I could put stuff in, but I don't. That same little lure box I will keep in my bucket. This guy will just come out of the bucket into the sling pack or the backpack if I'm doing that one rod deal. Then when I'm done with that, it goes back into the bucket. I keep a phone tripod in there, but if you're not filming anything, you do not need that. And then your basic everyday stuff, right? I got a bait knife, small box of pyramid weights. I have 2 ounce and 3 ounce in here. You will rarely see me with a 4 ounce weight, either pyramid or Sputnik. Just not needed for the Gulf. I keep some kind of de-hooker. These change over time. This is the one I'm using now. I got this guy from Brunken Manufacturing. Just for catfish and things like that. Stuff that I don't necessarily want to touch. Good pair of scissors / shears. These came from Cast King. They're holding up fairly well. They starting to stick a little bit. And I do take care of my stuff and rinse everything down and wipe it down. But this is great for cutting shrimp, cutting fish gum, changing leaders. I use these for everything. 2 different sizes of leader. I have a 60 pound and I have a 30 pound. I'm always going to start with 30. If they're biting through this, I bump it up to 60 and now I'm safe. I don't need 5 and 6 different poundage of leader going on and off the beach with me every time. 30 pound and 60 pound. You can get it done with these 2. And then of course, I'll keep a little bit of bait thread. I love this little plastic container. This did come from Brunken because this stuff will get wet and it's hard to kind of get going, right? It's hard to get it off the roll once it gets wet. Just the elements, the splash, it might start raining. Your bait thread gets all wet and soggy. Then you have to wait for it to dry out before it starts working correctly again. So I keep it in this little container. Plus, I know right where it's at. It's easy to find. Guys, that is it. Now I have my Sputnik weights in my beach cart. They don't go in the bucket, but they can. Everything is nice and compact. Nothing's barreling out the top here. And I even bring a lid with me that I can put over here in case it starts raining. I can throw my GoPro stuff in here, my extra batteries so they don't get wet. And then I can also use that lid to put on my bucket that I'm bleeding out fish, because there's been many times that I'm in that bleeding process and Fred comes and steals that fish out of my bucket. So I'll use a lid to cap that off and then to cap this off if needed. And the biggest gear mistake I see newer surf anglers and even seasoned surf anglers make is cooler size. Ask yourself this honestly, like, how long am I really on the beach? For me, if I'm not running a trip, 2.5 hours tops. This time of year, the summer months, an hour and a half. I understand you just spent $200 on your big Yeti cooler, but guys, that thing is heavy. And what are we pulling out of the Gulf to keep to eat, right? Pompano, whiting. You might get lucky and get a slot red. Bluefish and Spanish, they're all right here. They're all this size. You do not need that massive, heavy cooler weighing down your beach cart, loaded down with beer and water or whatever else you're bringing out there. Again, I mean, how long are you really out there? Now, if this is an all-day camping out, family, friends, this is a totally different ball game. I'm talking about like mission-focused sessions where you're there to catch fish and get off the beach. I used this, I think this guy was 18 bucks at Walmart. This Igloo cooler, super small, rectangle shape, incredibly light. I don't even use a whole bag of ice. I buy one of these big bags of ice from like the ice machines, and then I'll break that one bag down into 3. I take a very small little bag of ice with me, guys. I have my ice in here, my bait in here, and my 1 bottle of water. That big, heavy cooler is gonna put a lot of extra strain on you. It's gonna take up a lot of room and a lot of extra strain. Keep it as light as possible. Disappointing, right? Not a lot of stuff, right, guys? I am bare bones out there. And I think if you adopt this method, obviously taking the stuff that you're going to use every trip and then breaking that rest of the gear down per session. Even with my Sputniks, guys, I load up on 3 ounce Sputniks. I take 6. I'm usually fishing 3 to 4 rods, and I want a few extras in case I get broken off. So 6 3 ounce Sputniks, which is really only 2 extra. I'll bring 2 to 3 2 ounces and 2 to 3 1 ounces. And those are for my lighter action rods that I fish up close for like whiting and things like that. I'm gonna try to get away with my 1 ouncers, but if it is rough and those aren't holding, which is very rare, you will be surprised how well a 1 ounce Sputnik holds in the Gulf, especially up close. These little guys are champs, y'all. But just in case these aren't holding, then I'll bump it up to 2. The only time I'm gonna take 4-ounce Sputniks with me is if I've looked at conditions maybe the night before. There's a lot of wind, there's a lot of current, and I have to go fishing, right? Meaning like I have a trip on the books. And those clients don't have any other day. They say, hey, this is our only day to fish. If we're gonna do it, we have to go today. Then I'll bring those 4-ounce Sputniks. Other than that, guys, they stay at home. I might use 4-ounce Sputniks, and this is no exaggeration, 3 times a year. But I also have my gear, my rods, dialed in for 2s and 3s. You might have heavier rods where 4 ounces is that sweet spot for you. And if that's the case, leave the 3 ounces at home. With weight, guys, it's not so much for me about holding. It's about what weight is gonna make my rod perform the best. I very rarely throw pyramids anymore, but I do keep pyramids on board for when I'm getting bitten off. Sharks, blues in the area. You lose 2 or 3 of these and it starts hurting. So if that starts to happen, I abandon the Sputnik game and go straight pyramids. Losing $1.50 is a lot better than losing $6. Sorry to disappoint you guys, but that's it. Like, there's not much to it for me. The less crap I can have out there, the better. If you're bringing the entire garage with you guys, you're overthinking the process. You're saying to yourself, I want to be prepared for whatever's going to happen out there. And what that tells me is you haven't looked at conditions. You might not know how to even judge conditions. You're not really sure what your target is. You're just going out there to throw lines in the water and see what happens. Challenge yourself. Start looking at conditions. Start looking at tide levels, wind, and take a stab at it, right? Say, I think tomorrow I can get away with 2-ounce pyramids. I'm just gonna take those with me today, see what happens. And you'll start getting better and better at making those calls, and now you don't have 150 pounds worth of lead on the cart. Instead of taking all 5 bags of your fish gum, I'll take those same 5 bags, I cut a strip off of each one, I'll go ahead and pre-cut some, drop it in a little Ziploc here, and now I have all my flavors of fish gum in one little bag. These are things that I've just figured out along the way, guys. I wanted to pass this information down to you guys to make you guys more efficient surf anglers. The less stuff out there, the less stuff you have to choose from, and you can get to fishing instead of like guessing. Hope this was helpful, guys. As always, thank you for the continued support. We're coming up on our 1 year of having the shop open, and I am hosting a Pompano Rig Tying Seminar July 6th, Sunday, July 6th, right here at the shop from 8 to 11. I'll have multiple rig boards out, so I'm going to be showing you guys hands-on experience how to tie these Pompano rigs using a rig board that we're using for these trips. Get you guys tuned into the craft. Completely free seminar. I'm going to build out some rig tie-in packages, kind of everything to get you guys going, and I'll be selling those at a discounted rate. So save the date, Sunday, July 6th, here in Perdido Key. I'll see you guys on the next one.